Originating from China from the 19th century with potential rules in older games played in the land, it was brought outside of the country and its rules recorded in the 1920s. And though it was outlawed during Chairman Mao's supposed Cultural Revolution, it resurfaced in China in the 1970s as a leisure activity. Greetings and welcome to Checkpoint Gaming. With this series of episodes, we will be going over how to play the game Mahjong. With Mahjong, it is a tile-based game with numerous versions being available, both in rule sets and tile use. But the core objective is to build sets accompanied by obtaining the highest point value, which is achieved through selecting and discarding tiles until an entire set of combinations has been created, which consists of pongs, kongs, or eyes for the win. With this series, we're going to be using Hong Kong Mahjong, which is also known as Cantonese Mahjong, as a base with other information being incorporated as well. Hong Kong Mahjong uses all of the tile sets that are commonly used, excluding the more exotic complex rules, along with a relatively small set of scoring hands while also using a simple scoring system. With a standard set, it possesses 144 Mahjong tiles, although cards are able to be used instead. In addition to these tiles, scoring counters, dice, a dealer marker, and a round marker come with a set. There are some sets that come with holding racks for the tiles, which can be useful if playing with tiles that are either larger, smaller, or a different shape than the standard tiles. When it comes to sets that originate from outside of China, there is a chance that they'll have extra tiles or specialized markings upon them. With the tiles, they're split into 3 categories: that of suited, honors, and bonus. With the suited category, it is divided into dots, bamboo, and characters. Each of these possess a count of 36. With the honors category, it is divided into winds and dragons. With winds, it consists of 16 of them, while with dragons, it consists of 12 of them. And with the bonus category, it is divided into flowers and seasons. Both of these possess a count of 4. With the suited category, each of its subcategories are numbered 1 through 9, with 4 identical copies of each suited tile. With dots, it is also known as wheels, circles, coins, stones, marbles, or balls. With bamboo, it is also known as sticks, strings, or bams, with the first tile typically possessing a bird instead of a single bamboo, and is known as peeling. With the name peeling, it is the name of a mythical bird, and it means beautiful singing. Because of this fact, this tile depicts that of a peacock, sparrow, crane, lyrebird, or pheasant. And with characters, they are known as myriads, cracks, or numbers, due to the top characters being that of numbers found in Chinese orthography, and the bottom character being representative of 10,000. With the honors category, it doesn't possess any numerical sequence to them, with 4 identical copies of each honors tile. With the wind subcategory, it is divided into east, south, west, and north, with the order beginning with that of east. And with the dragons subcategory, it is divided into red, green, and white. The reason why this subcategory is named after the dragon has to do with the game's association with China. With their original names, they were after the 3 extremes and represents the following. Red dragon represents humanity, green dragon represents the earth, and white dragon represents the heavens. The red dragon is also known as chung, which means middle or to catch, and it is associated with that of blood. The green dragon is also known as fa, which means to give out, commerce, or flourish, and it is associated with that of fertility. And the white dragon is also known as po, pai, or pao, which means white, pure, or blank, and it is associated with that of eternity. It is worth noting that with the white dragon tile, it possesses either a blue or black frame upon its face, with some sets having it be entirely blank. With the bonus category, they play a unique role within the game. When they're drawn, the bonus tile is not to be added to a player's hand. Instead, it is set aside and kept near the player's other tiles for purposes of scoring, but only if said player wins the hand. After setting this tile aside, a new tile is to be drawn to replace the bonus tile. In addition to this, unlike that of the suited and honors tiles, there is only a single tile for each given bonus tile type. So there's a single tile for each of the flower tiles and a single tile for each of the season tiles found in the set. With that said, each flower and season tile possess a different artistic rendering upon it. It is worth noting that some versions of Mahjong use wildcard tiles during gameplay, which are chosen at the beginning of the game by randomly selecting said tile. The wildcard tile can either be the immediately following tile that is found upon the wall after the tiles have been distributed to all of the players, or it can be determined by a dice roll. Once obtained, the wildcard tiles can't be discarded and can only be used to replace tiles found in the chows. But with that said, wildcard tiles can't replace the tiles found in pongs or kongs. Once the wildcard indicator has been chosen and exposed, only 3 of the remaining tiles are of the same denomination, which will cause the next tile that is found in the suite to also be used as a wildcard tile. What this will do is add 7 wildcard tiles for a 4-player game. On top of this, if the indicator tile is numbered 9, then the suit is to circle back to that of 1, thus making number 9 and number 1 wildcard tiles. But if the chosen tile isn't one of the suited tiles, then the wildcard tile is decided as follows. If east is chosen, then south is the other wildcard tile. If south is chosen, then west is the other wildcard tile. If west is chosen, then north is the other wildcard tile. If north is chosen, then east is the other wildcard tile. If red dragon is chosen, then green dragon is the other wildcard tile. If green dragon is chosen, then white dragon is the other wildcard tile. And if white dragon is chosen, then red dragon is the other wildcard tile. When it comes to that of the bonus tiles, they're not allowed to be wildcard tiles. When it comes to several variations of Mahjong, it allows a number of joker tiles to be used in the game. They can be used as a wildcard tile in order to substitute any tile found in their hand. But some variants only allow jokers to be used in melds, while other variants disallow such an action. With the variants that allow for their use in a meld, they can be used in pongs, kongs, and chows, but not as singles or pairs. It is also possible for an entire meld to consist of jokers, and depending upon the variant being played, the player is allowed to replace the joker tile that is part of an exposed meld that belongs to any player with the tile that the joker represents in said meld. It is also possible for a player to take the joker of another player's exposed meld, but only if the stealing player possesses the tile that the joker represents. But in order to do this, the stealing player will have to wait for their turn to do so. The stealing player also can't take the joker followed by performing their turn, and the player who has displayed a joker for one of their own melds, they can take said joker back if they obtained the appropriate tile in a subsequent turn. Rules that govern the discarding of joker tiles also exist, with some variants allowing the joker tile to take on the identity of any given tile within the game, while other variants only allow the joker tile to take on the identity of the tile that was just discarded. But in the absence of a tile, then it will take on the identity of the first discarded tile. Joker tiles can also have an effect upon that of scoring, depending on if the variant being played allows for such an action to occur. Some specialty hands also require the use of joker tiles for the hand to work. With American Mahjong, it is illegal for players to pass joker tiles during the Charleston, something we'll discuss in a later episode. But once a joker has been discarded, it won't be able to be picked up by another player, although the other players might think that it might be nice if they could. And variants that allow for dead hands. If a joker was displayed prior to a hand becoming dead, the remaining players are able to take it if they pick up the appropriate tile that is to replace said joker. However, if any displayed jokers consist of a player's hand when they mistakenly announce Mahjong, then the jokers are considered dead, thus preventing the other players from taking them. Regarding the segment of the exposure at the time when the hand is declared dead, it should be removed and placed back into the player's hand. It isn't necessary for the players to know the names or Chinese characters for each of the bonus tiles, only their number, which is associated with a specific direction. And the player who played the particular bonus tile will also receive bonus points when they play a bonus tile that matches the seat direction. There is also no relationship between that of the bonus tile bamboo flower and the bamboo suit of the suited tiles. When it comes to that of playing Mahjong, it is done upon a square playing surface, and it's small enough so that all of the equipment is found within easy reach of all the players. The tabletop is covered with felt as a means of reducing wear that occurs to the tiles, along with the edges being raised in order to prevent the tiles from sliding off. And because of our modern age, automatic dealing tables also exist for the game, which are able to shuffle the tiles for the players, build the walls for the game, and to randomize dice rolls. All of this is built into the table itself, and it uses 2 alternating sets of tiles so that as the players are using one set to actually play the game, the other set is being shuffled, and the walls being built within the confines of the table as a means of reducing wait time. and when the round comes to an end, the players are to drop all of the tiles into the drop slot found in the center of the table, with the standby walls being raised up from within the table. When it comes to that of selecting a dealer, there are a variety of options available for the players to choose from. This can include rolling dice with the highest roll, taking the dealer position with each subsequent roll, taking each subsequent position around the table. Another option is to have a single player place one of the each win tiles face down and then shuffle them. From there, each player will randomly select one of these tiles, with the tile selection determining the player's given win direction. If using either of these methods, or something similar to it, then each player will sit down at their respective wind position around the table in their positions of an inverted compass, where the dealer is east, the player to their right is south, the player across from the dealer is west, and the player to their left is north. With the order of play for any given hand, it is done in a clockwise direction. With any given match of Mahjong, it consists of 4 rounds, with each round representing one of the prevailing winds, starting with east. From there, each round will progress to the next wind, starting with south. With wind position, it is important since it will affect how scoring is to be dealt with during the game. If a given set possesses winds in play, then it will include a separate prevailing wind marker. In each given round, at least 4 hands are to be dealt and played. With the first hand of each round, player 1 is in the east position and is the dealer. With the second hand, player 2 will take the east position, thus shifting the wind positions counterclockwise amongst the players without physically moving them. This process will continue until each player has been in the east position. So in a regular game of Mahjong, a total of 16 hands are to be played. To help indicate which player is east, a marker is used. Whenever the east player wins a hand, or the hand ends up on a draw, then an extra hand is to be played with the same seating positions, thus the prevailing wins remaining the same as found in the previous hand. This opens up the possibility that a match possessing an unlimited number of hands being played. But with that said, a rule can be implemented that will have a set limit in place of 3 consecutive hands being allowed to be played with the same seating positions. When it comes to that of shuffling, all of the tiles are to be placed face down upon the table, followed by the shuffling process occurring. Convention dictates that all players participate in the shuffling process with the use of both hands in order to move the pieces around upon the tabletop in a rigorous manner for a good amount of time. Tiles are allowed to flip face up during this process, although the players should flip them face down as soon as possible in order to avoid being able to identify its location within the pile. But with the British variant to the game, the tiles are to be shuffled by the north and south players, only using their fingertips to do so, and can be known as the twittering of the sparrows. And once the east player thinks that the tiles have been sufficiently mixed, they're to say pow, which will end the shuffling. And with the word POW, it makes us think of the original Mario Brothers game with the big POW box the player can use to mess with the enemy units. Once this shuffling process has been completed, each player is then to stack a row of 18 tiles that is 2 tiles high in front of them for a total of 36 tiles. But if a tile count other than 144 is being used, then these stacks will have to be altered. If 136 tiles are in use, then 17 stacks are to be placed in front of each player. If 148 tiles are in use, then 19 stacks being placed in front of the dealer and the player found opposite of them, with the other 2 players receiving 18 stacks each. And if 152 tiles are in use, then 19 stacks are to be placed in front of each player. From there, the players are to push each side of their given stack together in order for them to create a square wall which possesses overlapping corners. Play typically sees the players place their stacks at a slight diagonal, which, if found at around 20 to 30 degrees, counterclockwise with the right edge of the player's stack, being further in towards the center of the table so that it will almost meet the middle of the stack that belongs to the player found to their right. So the right end of the wall would typically be a butt with the inside of the wall that is found to the player's right and overlap with the end of the wall found to the player's left. This process will create a closed square found in the middle of the play area that is roughly equal to that of half of each stack the player possesses. With that said, the walls are to extend away from each corner of this given square. When it comes to that of the diagonal portion of the stacks and the small square, they create a bigger square of player tiles, which will create an ergonomic position for the drawing of tiles from their given stack. With the drawing of tiles, the dealer will roll 3 dice within the square wall, followed by summing up the total. In a counterclockwise direction, a count is to be performed where the dealer is 1, south is 2, and so on, where a player's quarter of the given wall has been chosen. Some house rules implement only 2 dice, but will also have double throws present as a means of increasing the randomness. In the situation of double throws, the player of the chosen wall will make a second throw, using either the same dice total or the total of 2 throws. The player who possesses the chosen wall will then count the tile stacks, going from right to left. If doubles are thrown, then the count can extend to the left side of the player's given stack. The point behind this is to determine the cut location for a given deck of tiles. Beginning from the left of the stacks that are being counted, the dealer is to draw 4 tiles for themselves, with this drawing process continuing in a counterclockwise direction, where each player drawing for tiles until each player is in possession of 12 tiles each. From there, each player will then draw one last tile, giving each player a 13-tile hand, with this tile being drawn from the topmost tile found to the left of the cut. In order to determine where the breakpoint is in the wall, the east player is to throw 2 dice, followed by counting from the right end of the east side of the wall, followed by making a break within the wall by pushing these tiles slightly to the left of said breaking point. These tiles create what is known as the dead wall or Kong box, with the remaining tiles creating the live wall. And starting with the east player, the player will take the tiles that are found left of the break. This process will continue until every player possesses 13 tiles. With that said, dealing doesn't have to be done within this strict manner and can be done differently, depending upon the playgroup. There is the possibility that tiles can be flipped over when they are being dealt. Because of this, players should agree upon how to deal with the situation before the game begins. From there, each player is to set any flower or season tiles they possess aside and then take turns drawing replacements from the wall in a counterclockwise direction from the dealer. And if any player draws additional flowers or seasons as replacement tiles, then the player will have to wait until the next turn to draw these replacement tiles. With a hand, it consists of 13 tiles a player has available for them to use during play. There is the possibility that specific hands are available to the players, with some of these tiles being common while others are optional, depending upon the situation. When a hand is a single tile away from winning, then it is said to be a ready hand. It is also known as being on the pot. And when a player possesses a ready hand, it is said that they're waiting for a certain tile. It is common for a player to be waiting for 2 or 3 tiles, with some variance giving the player who is waiting for a single tile points for being in such a position. And depending upon the version of Mahjong being played, it will determine if a ready hand is to be declared or not. In the situation where only the dead wall is remaining, or if a dead wall exists with the wall being depleted, then no one has won the hand and the situation is deemed a draw. This is known as reaching the wall. From there, a new hand is to begin, and depending upon the version of the game being played, the game's wind is to also change. At the start of the game, the dealer is to draw a piece from the wall in a clockwise direction, which is to be added to their hand. This tile is typically drawn during the initial deal as a means of speeding up gameplay, but if this doesn't complete a legal hand, then the dealer is to discard one of their tiles by throwing it into the middle of the wall. This is done with no particular order in mind. Depending upon the version of Mahjong that is being played, 2 or 3 dice are to be used in order to decide what part of the wall is to act as the starting point for dealing with 6-siders being used. There is also a dealer marker that is available, which is meant to act as a reminder of who the dealer is. This is also a wind marker, which is used to indicate what the current direction is of the prevailing wind. With that taken care of, we'd like to take a look at some in-game terms. With Lun, it refers to the situation where play has gone around the table once, with everyone discarding a tile during the turn. With Pan, it refers to that of a hand, and it encompasses everything that occurred between the deal and either someone declaring a win or it ends in a draw. A hand also refers to the tiles that a player possesses during play. With Quan, it refers to the round and usually consists of 4 hands with everyone having at least one chance to be the dealer. With Lu, it refers to a complete game that either consists of 4 rounds or the allotted playtime has elapsed. When it comes to that of tournaments, a complete game is also known as a session. With Prevalent Wind, it refers to the name of each of the 4 rounds where the first round is referred to as the East Round, the second round is referred to as the South Round, the third round is referred to as the West Round, and the fourth round referred to as the North Round. With the personal wind, it refers to the wind that has been assigned to each player based upon their position at the table in relation to that of the dealer. With that said, it will have implications when it comes to that of the honor and bonus tiles that the players are able to collect as a means of maximizing their points. With East, who is also known as the dealer, it refers to the player who distributes the opening tiles to the players as well as beginning the game. With Seat Wind, it is the indicator of what seat each player is occupying for any given round, and it corresponds to each of the 4 winds. Starting with the dealer and going in a counterclockwise direction, the wind seats are East, South, West, and North. With seating, it just refers to the placement of each player found at the table. With dealer, it refers to the player found in the East seat, with the players found in all of the other seats being designated as the non-dealers, who are also known just as players. And when a hand has been completed, the dealer is to shift right around the table, regardless of who won unless a rule states otherwise. With some versions of the game, a prevailing wind is to be chosen, which has implications for that of the honor and bonus tiles that the player can collect so that they can maximize their points. With concealed tiles, they consist of 13 tiles when the deal was done, and it includes chows, pongs, and/or kongs, where the standing tiles are the tiles that are not discarded by the player. With that said, these tiles can't possess kong replacements or flowers. When tiles haven't been melded before a player declares Mahjong, they are known as concealed. So sets are able to be kept hidden from the other players until they decide to reveal them. And with players who are trying to make a sequence by using a concealed hand, they won't be able to pick up any of the discarded tiles, except for the last one that they might need in order to complete a sequence and declare victory. With set, it consists of a component of a given player's hand and consists of chow, pong, or kong. With melded, it refers to any set that is openly displayed in front of a player's concealed hand. This is due to it being created due to a player either discarding a tile or to interrupt the flow of the game. With a pair, it consists of 2 identical tiles, and when a player successfully makes a complete normal structure hand, it will include 1 pair. With a chow as a noun, it consists of 3 sequentially numbered tiles that are of the same suit that runs from 1 through 9. But as a verb, it is when a player takes a discarded tile of the player found to their left in order to meld it with 2 of their standing tiles so that they can make a chow. With a pong as a noun, it consists of 3 of the same number tiles that belong to the same suit. This includes both concealed and melded pongs. But as a verb, it is when a player takes a tile that is discarded by another player and uses it in a pair from their standing tiles in order to make a pong. With kong as a noun, it consists of 4 identical tiles, but as a verb, it is when an exposure consists of 4 identical tiles. With the honor tiles, they consist of the wind and dragon tiles. With the wind tiles, they consist of 4 different types, which consists of east, south, west, and north, all of them possessing 4 copies. With the dragon tiles, they consist of 3 different types, which consists of the white dragon, the red dragon, and the green dragon, all of them possessing 4 copies. With the terminal tiles, they're the ones found at the end of a suit, meaning that they're the 1 and 9 of any given suit. Occasionally, terminal tiles are treated as being honors tiles. Some variants to the game also refer to the terminal tiles as major tiles, with the tile numbers 2 through 8 being referred to as minor tiles. When it comes to that of flower replacement, it is when the player picks a flower tile, exposes it, declares flower, and then takes a replacement tile from the back of the wall. This occurs until the player no longer has any flower tiles found within their hand. With waiting, it is when the player is literally waiting for one particular tile in order for them to complete their hand. With winning a hand, which is also known as going Mahjong, it is when the player takes a discarded tile or selects a tile by themselves so that they have 14 tiles found in their hand so that they can form a proper and complete structure as prescribed by the rules, with it winning the hand as well as scoring points as a result of it. With self-drawn, it is when the player wins a hand by taking a fresh tile from the wall. This is contrasted with winning by discard, where the player wins a hand by taking a tile that was discarded by another player. With declare, it is when the player vocalizes a particular action before they actually perform said action. It's kinda like a military unit telling the other side what they plan to do before engaging in a military offensive. With fawn, it refers to the scoring element of the game in accordance with the rules of the various versions of the game. It can also be known as a point. With discard, it refers to the tile that was most recently placed into the middle of the wall. With the obligatory discard, it refers to a tile that has to be discarded during the subsequent turn due to erroneous exposure. With the winning tile, it refers to the tile that a player takes in order to allow them to win, which will have to be set apart from the row of tiles so that it can be examined by others. It is also disallowed for the player to put their final tile along with the other tiles prior to the exposure of a complete hand. With a wrong tile count, it is when a player possesses more or less than 13 tiles when it isn't their turn, excluding flowers. In this situation, it disqualifies the player from declaring Mahjong. With a draw game, it is when the wall has been completely depleted, with no one being able to complete a winning Mahjong hand. With a false hu, also known as false Mahjong, it is when a player declares a win, but it is determined that they don't have a winning hand in accordance with the rules. With a wall, after lining up the stacks of tiles, it will give them 18 stacks of tiles found in front of them. With all 4 of these stacks, they're individually known as walls and is collectively known as the wall and is sometimes known as the Great Wall. Finally, with the floor, it is a square area that is surrounded by the walls that belongs to each player. So with that said, that is what you need to know about the basics of Mahjong. With that taken care of, we can start talking about the rules of the game. If you liked this episode, feel free to give it a like, and if you want to stay up to date on any future episodes we upload, go ahead and subscribe. You can also support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/checkpointgaming. See you in the next episode, and happy gaming.